And welcome to the final round of Day 1 of the ETS World Championship. Our final round is going to be a matchup between childroland on Skycrag Aggro and Sunyveil on Stonescar Aggro. Now, before we get to the match, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Twitch chat, calm down. It wasn't that long of an interview. Moving on. What are your thoughts about this matchup, aReNGee?
So this is a table topping match as well, I believe. Just about. Okay, so Sunyveil is our lead player right now at 6-2 on a sort of middle of the road queen list, whereas childroland at 5-3 with Skycrag Aggro, very similar to the list that Paradox used to 6-0 the Swiss during the World Wildcard tournament just last weekend. So definitely well positioned, and he's been playing it right now, or playing it well today. Now, as for who's advantaged, aggro matchups are always kind of coin flippy. Skycrag comes out of the gate faster, but Stonescar has more removal and a bit better late game, I think, so it'll really depend. Looking at the hands here, I would say this particular match is definitely Skycrag favored. Or, sorry, this particular game is Skycrag favored, but I'm not sure about the match.
Yeah, what I've generally heard from my aggro playing teammates is that Skycrag is good against Stonescar because it's really hard to handle some of their threats. And the permafrost can be really effective ways of handling the larger threats in the Stonescar deck. Also, I agree, this is an excellent hand for Roland. He can get the Hasted Fury out on turn 2, he can have it as a 4-2 attacker and then play another 2-drop on turn 3, and then he can just start slamming Vadiuses. This is an easy keep for him. Sunyveil's hand is fine, but it is not nearly of the same quality. Actually, interesting, Roland opts to play the Monument on turn 1. This likely means that he doesn't want to go for a Champion of Fury on turn 2. He instead wants to play the Outlaw and is looking to potentially maybe play a Vadius or a Cloud Snake Harrier on turn 3. He wants to have that turn 3 untapped mana, which I can certainly understand.
Some would call it undepleted power. So I have a question for you.
I'm sorry, I'm trying so hard.
You are one of the biggest Yeti fans that we have, if I recall correctly. And
yes, I was the one that started Champion of Furry. That was me.
I didn't exactly want to bring that up, but thank you. So my question is, why don't you play Skycrag?
I liked them conceptually. I'm not that big of an aggro player. I enjoy tribal decks, and to be honest, most of it was a joke. It was mostly me messing around, really wanting Yeti tribal. I have played a bit of Skycrag. I don't mind the deck. I just consider myself better at playing other archetypes, so I tend to go for what I know.
Okay, so we see a bit of a trade here. Sunny, despite having the Bandit Queen, doesn't really prioritize keeping those extra Grenadin around, choosing instead to trade with the Champion of Fury, and these outlaws are probably just going to attack back and forth for a while.
Yeah, there's not going to be a major incentive for anyone to try and put together a block for them. If you can put an Instigator in front, that's great. But they're going to swing whenever possible. The Chakram is interesting, especially with the Warcry. But I feel like while their Chakrams are good in many matchups, this isn't one of them.
Yeah, I feel like you put this on there, you attack for 7, Sunyveil says great, and then slams a queen or a rally back at you. And then you're in a bit awkward shape. The problem is you can't play 2 units this turn, which is why I think his line last turn with the champion may not have been the best line for setting himself up, because you really don't want your hand to flood with threats in the aggro versus aggro matchup.
Yeah, if he was going to do the playing of the Monument on turn 1, he had to get a 3-drop out of his hand. And I think he's largely missed the chance to get rid of them, so he's going to have a clogged hand for a while. As a note, Sunyveil's version does not run rallies. It's the in-between between the rally version and the Bandit Queen version, so it runs a lot of the little tokens, but it doesn't actually run the rallies in the main or sideboard.
Just the Bandit Queens. That said, even if he doesn't draw a Bandit Queen here, he could just torch the attacker and be on his merry way with math is for blockers. 8 damage coming in, plus the 1 from the Instigator trigger. So he's gonna deal half the health in one go anyways, even with this attack.
Yeah, he's opting to block with a Grenadin just to save himself a little bit of damage, which I think is the right play. that one Grenadin is not going to be the make or breaker of this match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But him going down to that low health and then maybe getting obliterated a couple times could become a major problem.
Really?
So this... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh. Okay. I promise,
okay, we
we're
can do this.
Incredibly in sync.
Yes, okay. You go first.
Alright, so he has to use the Rapid Shot here, because he's just going to slam Queen next turn no matter what, so just using Rapid Shot for damage. And while Child Rolling can play 2 threats, Vadius doesn't play very well from behind.
Yeah, this doesn't set him up with a great blocking system. He gets out those couple of creatures, but they don't really have any good blocks. Is he?
To Instigator triggers.
Yes, you're right, the Instigator damage. Yeah. So that's going to be Sunyveil taking game 1 in rather quick fashion. Looking at the sideboards, who has more tech for this? The Rock Slides and Roll-In sideboard are probably going to be coming in. They seem pretty effective. I would not be surprised if the Shogun sector is coming in. Yeah, the Chakrams are not for this matchup.
Ooh. Yeah, the rest of his sideboard does not look set up for this, though. Polymorph isn't quite where you want to be. Ruins and Caleb's choices don't do what you want. Backlash might come in, but it doesn't sound very good. So
yeah, I mean, the Rock Slides are fine, and the Shogun Scepters seem decent. So between bringing those in and taking out probably the Polymorphs and the Chakrams, I'm not too upset in the sideboarding if I'm Roland.
Looking over at the sideboard of Sunyveil, once again we see these ruins. I wonder what people were looking to ruin. We got some Suffocates and some Annihilates, which will be quite effective. 3 Groundbreakers, 3 Statuary Maidens if he wants to play more of a mid-range game. Groundbreaker is pretty tough to break through if you don't have a Permafrost or a Polymorph. And Statuary Maiden, very good long game tech. Although Aegis does make it a little bit more difficult. Aegis.
We can worry about pronunciation later. Anyways, I don't know if Sunyveil is going to want to go down the larger creatures train. He could. I don't know the matchup well enough to know what he'd be thinking there. I imagine that the Maidens are probably better than the Groundbreakers in this matchup. They both they both are large threats that are kind of hard to block with. The Maiden, there's going to be creatures chumping. I think it can actually do pretty well if he's playing a longer style. I'm leaning towards bringing in the Maidens first. I didn't quite see what he boarded there. He was just scanning through it.
Looks like he cut down to 1 Rapid Shot, which is interesting. You'd think that Rapid Shot would be a pretty good card, but in a match where nobody's blocking and there's torches and permafrost flying around, I guess it's not that useful.
Yeah, I mean, if he was trying to board to go as fast as possible, you keep it. But if he's playing a slightly larger plan...
That is a roll and dies on turn 4 pair of hands, if I've ever seen one.
1 second, let me get Roland's perspective open. Because Sunny's looks pretty scary. And Roland's looks pretty bad.
Yes, his first play is a Shogun Scepter with no units to put it on. So Roland really wants to draw a 2-drop, and he did. Okay, so he's still in this.
I am very surprised to see the Chakrams still in the deck. I was not expecting them to stay in the main board here.
No, it doesn't seem very good here, and it's not going to go very well, as we're going to see like perfect curve from Sunyveil, Knife Jack into Grenadin Drone into Champion into. I assume Champion is next?
Probably. There's no real reason to Cinder Yeti here.
No.
He's holding back the Knife Jack because that trade isn't a profitable one for him while he has Queen in hand.
Yeah.
Which makes a fair amount of sense to me. He hasn't activated either side of the Champion, but any power he draws, except for a Diplo Seal, will get at least one side of it active. Particularly the Overwhelm is what he's going for here.
And if he doesn't draw power next turn, he can just play Cinder Yeti, exhaust the Fire Maw that we presume is coming down, and beat in for some damage. So it's not end of the world.
Yeah, it'll still be a pretty decent position for him. He can also just swing and threaten the rapid shot.
Yes, we believe one of Rapid Shot has come into play here. And now you can just beat with everything, right?
Yeah, because now he no longer minds that blocking the knife jack, and he's willing to rapid shot it. So this is pretty good for him. So now Roland will almost certainly drop the Fire Maw and the Ronin, which is pretty decent. And the Fire Maw will get Cinder Yeti'd, and then a lot more damage will be coming through. So I'm feeling pretty good from Sunyveil's side here.
Mm-hmm. I think you have to take the trade for the 2/2.
Yeah, definitely.
Taking 5. What can Roland draw?
I mean, Torch is useful, but he kind of just needs larger things. Like, I think his best...
Steel Fan Chakram B plan? Is that all you can do? I think that's all you can do.
Yeah, holding back and playing the defensive is not a plan that will pan out. So, I agree. This is the best he's got.
If Sunny doesn't have Queen, do you just Torch Fate? Okay, Sunny has Queen. It doesn't matter. You have to Torch or die.
And I mean, you don't...
No, you're still dead.
Is he... Yeah, that's exact dead.
Yeah. So, all theorizing about top deck obliterates aside, Roland was in fact dead as soon as the Queen came around. I don't think attacking there was wrong. He certainly wasn't winning that game if he held it back, but did mean that Sunyveil, in short order, moved back up to the top of the table at 7-2 after 9 rounds. Child Roland with a respectable, I believe, 5-4 record. So in the upper half, but certainly not a commanding position.
Now, we've gotten a couple other match results in. Pojo has won 2-0 versus Hythar, Kampf has won 2-0 versus Sirius, and Tobo has won 2-0 versus Chicken. I believe we have a backup match planned, so we shall cut to that shortly. Who's our backup match again?
Toth versus SirRhino. So Praxis versus Xenon Control. So it should be an interesting match. I think we're pulling it up now. Looking at this, Hythar has slid to 3-6. Losing his last 3 matches, so to end the day. So that's not a great place to be after going 3-3. Angry Chicken dropping a match goes to, I believe, 5-4 as well. Yeah, so same place as Child Roland, as does V-Sirius. So SirRhino is currently 5-3. If he wins this, he will go to 6-3, and will be in the upper area. Otherwise, he will fall down to 5-4 and be in the middle bracket. I'm not sure if we have Steam Perspective for SirRhino up here, but Toss Hand is empty, and SirRhino has a 7-7, which is the biggest thing on the board right now.
Yeah. We'll get this working on stream as soon as possible. I don't think it is there yet.
When one player has nothing and the other has a Mystic Ascendant, the Mystic Ascendant player is generally in better shape. As Rhino is pushing his way free of the Praxis. Welcome back, Brady. Although I cannot hear you.
Hey, sorry, I'm having a little bit of a connection issue. I think it should be resolved now.
We can now hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Do you trade?
So,
can you trade here?
Looking at this,
like surely there's a banish involved in this block, right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you have the luxury of not trading. I think you have to just say if he has the trick, which he probably does, I lose. Because you're not getting out of this otherwise.
If he has the double block, do you need to go for the triple block is the question. You know, to play around the banish or whatever, so that you still get the trade?
Yeah, that possibly could have been a better line. I think it would have led to the same conclusion, but you're correct, that would have been a better line.
Okay, so I'm just checking that...
I believe that was game 3.
Report as of yet. We do have other reports, though. Tabu won his match to stay neck and neck with Sunyveil, 2-0 over Angry Chicken. I think we mentioned that earlier. Lights Out Ace takes down Ilya K 2-1. Unearthly beats Love Up to push to 5-4, I believe, after a tough start for Unearthly. So he's fighting back. And then we have Moosh versus Kamado as our remaining match. Yeah, none of these players are back in game. But we also have no reports. Okay, so apparently that was game 3, and so Rhino takes down Toth. Toth falls to 4-5, and Rhino improves to 6-3 after an 0-3 start for him. So
yeah, Rhino made
a good bounce back. And
yeah, it looks like he kept a positive attitude through all that and has made a very impressive recovery, putting him definitely in contention for the top 4.
Rhino's pretty renowned for being laid back and not taking anything too seriously.
Yep, it looks like he took it just seriously enough.
Okay, so we have our final result in here today, and we will be going over the whole results table as we did here. We're now at 9 rounds in. There's still 6 rounds to go, so nothing's finalized yet. Especially since the middle of the bracket is all 5-4 and 4-5. But we're starting to see who's doing well and who is unfortunately going to need a lot of help tomorrow.
Yeah, we should momentarily have a new bracket image to show the end of day 1 results. In the meantime, we can just chat about it a bit. It looks like we have a couple X2s. 7 2s. We have 1-6-3, and then the vast majority of the field is in the 5-4 to 6-3. 5-4 to 3-6 range.
Is that 6 players or more? That's
6 players or more in that middle area, or
that's 8 players, I think, that are at 5-4 or 4-5. Yes, we have 5 players at 5 and 4. So, and that's only 1 win away from being in the top 4. So a lot of competition there, a lot of motion still. Down at the bottom of the table, 3 and 6 is currently in the bottom 4, and that's Locopojo, Hythar, Love Up, and Moosh. Unfortunately, Moosh did not recover from his initial stumbles and has found himself winless at the end of day 1 at 0-9. Gonna need to roll off a lot of wins if he wants to not be in the bottom 4. But even if he is, there is another match or 2 for him to play, for him to redeem himself and emerge from the bracket. We'll get to all that in day 2. But Sunyveil is our leader after the final matches. Kamado has also won his match, so both of them are 7-2, with the tiebreaker over Tabu. Tabu's only 2 losses are to his fellow 7-2 players, so he's doing quite well. We're having a bit of problems on the back end for building the thing, so I'm just handing Rekenner an image here. Yes, Kamado won his final round against Moosh. Okay, so hot takes from the day. Obviously, Sunyveil, Kamado, and Tabu are all doing very well, and SirRhino fought back. Other than that, anything that stood out for you?
Well, looking through this, one thing that we've mentioned a few times, but is worth noting, is the large variance in the results of the TJP deck. We have 2 of those players near the top of our bracket and 2 of those players at the bottom, showing to a large extent the swinginess of that deck. What are other important things to note here? It doesn't seem like the aggro decks are clustered particularly in one part of the bracket. I think they're mostly in the middle. Just looking through their Roland, their Ilya, their Kampf. So they seem to be largely in that middle section. The top of the bracket, just scanning through them, well, we've got one of our aggro decks in Sunyveil, and then we just got a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are 11 archetypes, or something close to that. 10 or 11 archetypes across 16 players, so everybody's sort of doing their own thing. What it is important to keep in mind is that this isn't a Swiss, so you're not going to get the nice little segmented. Everybody plays against people of their own records. We had Kamado, who was at 6-2, playing against Moosh, who was at 0-8. So you do get these sort of stretches at times, and you won't really know how things play out until we get through all 15 matches. But a couple of players today showed a lot of resilience, and a couple of them sort of fell off. Hythar off after an initial good start. From 3-3, dropped his last 3 matches, unfortunately, to go 3-6. Rhino dropped his first 3 matches, then went 6-0. And of course, not all of that is just because of the players. Depending on the matchup, some matchups can be more disadvantaged. Maybe you hit your 3 worst matchups in the pool right away, and then you bounce back from that. Either way, it's a tough mental thing to do. Unearthly had been struggling through most of the day, fell to 1-3, fought it back to 5-4, and is right back in the mix. So we know he's done these tournaments a lot, has a great mental game, and is doing well here. Sunyveil, 7-2. He's a pro MTG player, played his last Pro Tour last weekend, Pro Tour Ixalan, I believe is the pronunciation. Went 7-5 there. He's 7-2 here today and leading the table. So, and then I guess the only other player that I wanted to note was Angry Chicken. Started off 3-0 and then slid down to 5-4 as he ran into the actual aggro parts of the bracket, which is doing him no favors and kind of worries me, honestly, going forward. Even if he were to make top 8, if any of the aggro decks run into him there, he's going to get chopped down.
Yeah. Now, I believe he's actually faced most of the aggro decks already. Just scanning through, he has yet to face Roland. Actually, no, I think I was just completely lying. I still think he has to face plenty of them, looking at it.
He hasn't played Sirius or Sunyveil, has he?
I'm just looking. He hasn't faced Ilya. He hasn't faced Roland. He hasn't faced Sunyveil. Yeah, you're right. Nope, I just completely lied.
So he's still got 3 to come, and he's already down. So that is not looking good for Chicken being in top 4. Although being Chicken, I imagine we'll see him in the upper half of the bracket nonetheless. Yeah, so that was our first day of the tournament. It was about 5 hours of actual gameplay, which, while it may seem short by the standards of a lot of our tournaments, we prepared for a lot more control and mid-range decks that we're going to drag on than we actually got. So we're glad for that. The players still played 9 rounds, and they're definitely exhausted and looking for a break. So we'll be cutting to outro momentarily. And we will see you guys back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. EST again for the next pre-show of Day 2 of the World Championships. There's still a lot more Eternal to be played, and I'm going to be watching very closely to see how all that pans out. Bradykin, is there anything you want to say before we toss it over to Rec for our official outro?
I'd just like to thank everyone for coming to watch today. We got a large crowd watching. And I hope you all enjoyed yourself. I'd also like to thank the aReNGee crew for giving me a chance to guest cast today. It was a ton of fun, and I look forward to watching throughout the rest of the tournament. And I'd like to reiterate one more time to Twitch chat, the interview wasn't that long. Calm down. And with that, I will toss it over to Rickhanna.
Thank you, Brady. Thank you, aReNGee. You guys did a great job casting today. Thank you very much for doing so. And I'd also like to once again thank the 2 people who joined me on the analyst desk for the pregame this morning, which were SPG's Paradox and our own Neon Blonde. So once again, thank you to all of our players and all of our viewers. I really do enjoy putting this on every week, but this is what we've been looking forward to for months. We've been planning and working toward Worlds since really, MSM was over, and we didn't get everything accomplished that we wanted to, but I think we've put on a great show today. I hope everyone out there in Twitch chat enjoyed the sweet intro video that Kirby made, the awesome interviews that Kirby filmed and then edited. One of the interviews, maybe notwithstanding on that comment. Yeah, Ilya likes to talk. He's a very smart guy. He has a lot of opinions about this game. I can't blame him entirely. Anyway, for real though. And I would once again like to thank our producers. Teehee was our producer today, but without our usual producer Miller Tool, we couldn't have done any of this. Both of them have been putting together a ton of work over the last year to learn OBS, set up all the scenes, figure out Steam broadcasting, and doing in-game spectating and stitching that all together. And we've come a long way since the very beginning. We really have. They have done fantastic jobs. And so I would also like to thank Mengar, our one of our who has assisted us with making our tiebreaker script and deck image creation tool. We're not using the tiebreaker script for this event. We don't have any Swiss rounds, but we've been using his deck image creation tool all day long. And so I would also like to thank all of our subs on Twitch and all of our donors on Patreon. We actually had 3 new Twitch Prime subs today, and they are Dunwich Child, Bon Andre, and Discarded A. Discarded A even subbed during the during our final interview of the day. And so I would also like to thank all of our Patreon donors. Our Patreon donors... sorry, one second. Sorry. Our $20 Patreon donors are Chuck Hurst, Easy, Chris Kearns, Andre Pokai, Seek Power Gaming, and Frosty HS. And you can find our Patreon at www.patreon.com/RNGEternal. And as a reminder, we are coming back to you, of course, tomorrow for the rest of the round robin, starting at 11 Eastern. But we will be having a pregame, discussion of the results of day one, talk about, the players, what they still have to face. Kind of the, even though, someone like Moosh is unfortunately at 0-9, he still has a chance if his remaining matchups are some of his more favorable matchups. He may find himself at 6-9 and safely in the middle of the bracket at the end of the day. And even someone like Comp or Ilya, who are at 4-5, could find themselves sitting at 4-11. So the bracket for tomorrow is really still very up in the air. But yeah, so our pregame tomorrow will start at 10 a.m. Eastern. The tournament will start at 11 a.m. Eastern. And of course, we'll be finishing up with day 3 and 4 next weekend, starting again at 10 in the morning on Saturday with pregame and 11 for the start of tournament coverage next weekend. Whew, it's been a long day full of incredible games of Eternal. So hopefully I will catch you all tomorrow. Once again, thank you to all of our viewers. We had almost 700 viewers today, which is breaking our concurrent viewer record. It's great. Well, have a good afternoon, good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.